Hello crafters, thank you so much for being here with me today. It is time for another Heartfelt Friday, and today I am kind of reaching back a few years ago to the backyard blossoms. I've been really wanting to use this collection, and so let's switch the camera and take a look at what I came up with. All right, so here is our project today, and it is kind of an oldie but a goodie. It's a Z-fold card. I hadn't made one of these in a while, and I thought these dragonflies were perfect to go with the backyard blossoms. I don't know about your backyard, but we have so many dragonflies. We have a water feature in our backyard, and the dragonflies, I love it. So dragonflies make me think of backyard. So let's take a look at the products that we're going to use to make this Z-fold card. All right, of course we are using the decorative dragonfly, and I'm just using this main stamp and die. I'm also bringing in the classic companion border set and the flourish companion frame. Now, the backyard blossom pieces, I do not have the packaging for the backyard blossoms, but I use this flower grouping of flowers and then the two individual flowers, the bigger ones, as from that collection. Okay, so I had decided that I wanted my color palette to be the yellows and the greens. So this was kind of the color palette I was going for, and I thought I would pull in just a little bit of orange. So this was the color palette. So I went to my paper pads to see what papers would work with that color palette. And so from the decorative dragonfly collection, I chose this piece, the sheet 4A. I liked this section of green. And then I went to the Dazzling Dahlia because it has those oranges and yellows that I liked. So I'm not sure the page number of this one, but I used some of the yellow and orange section from that. And then for my background piece, I chose this one. So even though these are dahlias, I knew that I was going to be just covering up a lot of those. I just really was going for the colors. So those are the pieces that I used. All right, now to begin, we're going to need a 12 by 12 sheet of white paper. I'm going to go ahead and move my original out of the way here. And a larger scoreboard. I normally use a mini scoreboard, but for this I am going to use a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. And on this larger scoreboard, I am going to score the 12 by 12 sheet of paper, and I have put some pencil marks where I scored so that you can easily see it. And I scored at 2.5 and at 5. All right, so 2.5 and 5 on a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. The next thing we're going to need to do is get our paper trimmer, and so I've scored this direction, and that is the direction that I'm going to cut as well. So my score lines are going this direction. I'm going to cut this direction. So I want to go to 7 inches. Oh, you know what? My first cut, I'm sorry, I changed my mind. My first cut, I'm going to go this way. So my score marks are up and down this way. Sorry, I forgot. And we're going to go to 10. Our card, we want it to be 5 by 7. So we're going to go to the 10 mark and go ahead and score in the same direction, or cut in the same direction as our score lines. Now we're going to turn it this direction and go to 7. All right. So this will be our card base. Now with this little section that we have left, and hopefully you can see me okay, I'm going to go to the 2-inch mark and cut myself, let me double check that just to make sure that I have these pieces the right sizes. Yes, okay. We're gonna go to the 2-inch mark and go ahead and cut that piece right there. Now the next piece, we're gonna go to 1.5. Let's even go to 1 3/4. Well, Not sure. It looks like 1 1/4, about 1 1/4. There we go. Sorry, I hadn't measured that piece. I've got one over here that I was looking at. Okay, so this piece will be 1 1/4, and then I want you to turn it this way and cut it to 4 1/2. All right. So these are the 3 pieces that we're going to use. And I will go through them again just to make sure that we all are on the same page. So this is 7 by 10, and it is scored at 2 1/2 and at 5. And this is going to be our card base. So we're going to go ahead and fold it at the 5-inch mark. And once you fold that over, go ahead and burnish it. And now where we scored at 2 1/2, we're going to fold it back towards our card fold. Okay, and we can go ahead and burnish that. So this is what you'll have looking down from the top, and that is our main card base. So basically you've taken a 5 by 7 card and folded the cover of it back halfway. Okay. And now we're going to do the exact same thing to this piece, just as if it was a bigger piece. We're going to go ahead and fold it over once, and then the front piece we're going to fold back. All right, so you've got a tall one and a short one that look exactly the same. Now, to make a Z-fold card, this piece, we're basically going to turn it like this. So it's a backwards, and it gets glued on so that it's even on this side and even on this side, and that will give you your Z-fold card. Okay, so my camera is making a little bit hard. Hopefully I've got you in there. So did everybody catch that? So after you do your folding, it looks like this. The Z is exactly the same, and you just, the short one, you're going to turn it around, and then it'll go on just perfectly. And of course, when you're making a Z-fold card, you can put this piece anywhere you want along your card. Now we're not going to glue that yet, but we are going to take, excuse me, this little piece that is 4 1/2 inches, and I'm going to use my smaller scoreboard, and I'm going to score that at 1 inch and at 3 1/2 inches. And for that, I'm going to fold this one up, and I'm going to fold this one back. So we have this right here, which is basically another little Z piece. Okay. So now that we have our card bases all made, we can set these 3 pieces aside, and let's make our background pieces for our card. All right, so out of this patterned paper, I cut this to 5 by 7, and then I trimmed a 1/4 inch off of both sides so that I can put that right here and have a 1/4 inch or an 1/18 of an inch outline all the way around. Okay. And I'm just going to very quickly, using my ink pad, I'm going to go ahead and ink the edges of this. Just as easy as that. All right, so let's go ahead and put this in our card base. And remember to leave that 1/18 of an inch outline all the way around. Okay, now out of our green piece from the Dragonfly, we need 2 pieces that I cut to 2 1/2 by 7, and then I cut off a 1/4 inch from 2 sides. So again, that way I can use my piece and have that 1/4 inch outline, sorry, not 1/4, 1/18 of an inch outline all the way around. All right, and there are 2 of them, and one goes inside and one goes on the front. Okay, just like this. So we can go ahead and put those in. Now the way I did it, you notice this piece has a little bit of decoration here. I put that towards the top because I know that my bottom piece is going to be largely covered up. by my my Z-fold piece. So I put these pretty decorations towards the top, as if the dragonflies had kind of disturbed the air and made those nice little swirly bits up in this wherever. They look dragonfly-ish to me. So okay, put that in just like that. All right, easy as pie. Okay, now for our piece that looks like this. You're going to cut a strip, and I'm going to measure it real quick because it was a few days ago that I made this, and I'm sure I will forget. So that's 4 7/8. Hold on. I always get those wrong. So this is 2 inches. So I cut this to 1 3/4 by, this is 5 inches, so this is 4 3/4. And we're going to go ahead, and I put the orange towards the outside. I should never try to use a ruler on camera because I will mess it up for sure. All right, and on this one, it also has that outline. And the same with these 2 sections. Each of them are 2 1/2. So I just put this a 1/4 inch smaller, so that we can put those in there and still have our outline. All right. This is kind of the mechanics of the card, not the fun part of decorating it. So we'll just knock this out real quick. All right, so now we have our Z-fold band part that will go right here, but let's go ahead and do our die cutting first so that we can add those pieces on before we put these 2 together. Okay. All right. Using the Flourish Companion set, you're going to die cut this piece out of some deluxe gold. And that's going to give us this pretty frame right here. And I'm going to glue that one right inside our card base. Right? I'm going to do that fairly quickly here. It's kind of, these little ones are a little tedious to get the glue on. Do it. There we go. All right, there we go. I got enough glue on there to hold that in. All right. Now the next one that we need is from our classic companion and border die, and I just used 1/2 of it. And that piece is going to go right over here on your front side. So has everybody been taking time to create and spending time in your craft areas creating? I spend a lot of my time doing just that. So we're just going to press this, and now a little of it will hang over the edge, and that's kind of what we want. Try to, okay. All right, just like that. You see how that kind of hangs over the edge like that? Okay, I think from here we are ready to add our Z-fold piece. So like I said, we're going to take this part first and glue it about, I don't know, a 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit bigger than a 1/4 inch from the bottom. Whoops. And for now, I'm just adding my glue right here on the end. I'm not putting it throughout the hole because I want to be able to tuck things underneath there. All right. All right, so remember this little piece that we made? This is where we're going to add this piece. So we're going to stand it up like this. And this piece is going to go right here. So I'm only holding it like this. I'm going to add glue right there. And now I'm going to put it down in here. And for the most part, I just want to make sure that it's lower than this. So you see that? I just don't want this piece to be higher than this piece. I want this to be hidden down inside this piece. So hold that down. Now I'm going to fold this down like this, and I'm going to add my glue right here just on that next little flap. And I'm going to bring this up. See how I'm doing right here? And I'm just going to naturally let that find its spot where it needs to be in order to fold. Whoops. All right. And oh, sorry. Let's go ahead and glue this side down. Maybe that'll help that holding spot better. All right, now to do this side, you do want that to be straight flush with your edge. That's what I should have done that first before I did this middle piece. Now this should find its spot very easily in there. Okay, and then you're just going to fold that down, and there we have our Z-fold card. See that? Okay, very nice. All right, so now that we have these, our Z-fold decorated and ready to go, we're going to set that aside and go ahead and make our flowers and our dragonflies. I hope that made sense. Now, when I did this second side, I shouldn't have glued that until first I glued this. Then you reach down in there and add your glue and close it, and that'll stick to the right place. So that's kind of, hopefully that will be easy for you to do, to recreate it. Okay, for our dragonflies and our flowers, I stamped all the flowers in fern green. And this is kind of looks like a strange color combination, like these greens don't really match, but I stamped the dragonflies in the emerald green. And that's going to be okay because I really only used the fern green so that you could see the flowers a little bit better against my green background. All right, to color those up, I'm going to come in with my Vivid Chartreuse and just very, whoops, that's the wrong, I tell you what, there we go, with my Vivid Chartreuse, and I basically did all of my greenery just like that. And after the Vivid Chartreuse, I came in with a little bit of the fern just to add some darker spots where I thought it should be darker. But other than that, that is all I did to those. Now, oh, there it is. The next thing I did was come in with my sunflower color. I'm misplacing my daubers here. My sunflower color, and I just lightly went over the petals. Then I came back with the goldenrod, and up by the top I just put a darker swash of the yellow of the goldenrod up on top. And I did all the flowers the same way. I've got too many stacks here. Okay, now let's see. The next color I came in with is the bright Tangelo. And this fun little thing right up here on top, I put a nice, healthy, heavy color of the bright Tangelo. All right, now for my dragonflies, I came in with the, whoops, that's the wrong one. I came in with the emerald green, and I started with the point right between his eyes and just colored his little body. He's a little heavy. I didn't mean to get him quite so heavy. And then for his wings, I came in with the coastal coral and the sunflower. And first I just put on the sunflower. And then I went over it with the coastal coral. All right, and that's how I did his wings. Excuse me. Now, you may have noticed in my original that my dragonflies have double wings. So they have a vellum layer and then they have the paper layer underneath. But their bodies are paper. So that means for each one of these, excuse me, got choked up. I came back with my die, or sorry, my stamp, and I'm going to put him right here. And then with my ink pad, I just tapped on his body. And I did this with each one of my dragonflies. And I did just the body. Then I colored that up and used my die cut on him, and then used my scissors to trim off the wing so that for each one of them, I have just their little body sections. You see this? Just like this. And I did that for each one of the dragonflies that I'm going to use. Now, the next thing we need to do is grab a piece of vellum, and you're going to stamp each of the dragonflies that you want to use. You're going to stamp that in your gold ink. If you don't have the Encore Gold, you can also use the Versamark ink. And then I heat embossed that with the Ranger gold embossing powder. So to finish making all of my dragonflies, there we go. There's all my different parts for my dragonflies. We'll start with this bigger one, and I'm only putting my adhesive on his body. Now, I did go on the back side of these with a little bit of the Coastal Coral ink. I don't know that you can really see it very well, so I didn't really go over that step because I don't know that it made very much of a difference. But after I get those, after I get the vellum layer on, now I'm going to add his paper body back over the top. And I did come in and do just a little bit of lifting on the wings, kind of give those some separation, put a little curl on those. And I just did this with my fingers. All right. Now, I do come back and glitter these pretty heavily, but let's go ahead and layer these up. Same thing, and for this last little guy, do him the same way. A little strip of glue up his body, just layer these up. Oops, there we go. So do let me know there in the comments if you have the Backyard Blossom collection. I believe it's called the Backyard Blossoms, but those are called cone flowers, if I'm remembering correctly. They kind of remind me of what a black-eyed Susan would look like out of my mom's yard when I was a kid, but I believe they're known as cone flowers. All right, so now that we have our dragonflies to this spot, I'm going to go ahead and take this piece. Let me get my inks out of the way. And I am going to get my lion's mane glitter. And I'm going to try really hard not to make a mess doing this, but It's yet to be seen. It might. So I'm going to open up my lion's mane glitter, and I'm going to take his wings and put just the vellum on my paper. Now I'm going to get one of my little sponge that we use for glue. And I'm just going to very lightly kind of tap some glue onto his wings and then tap his wings down into the glue, or into the glitter. Boy, I don't know why I can't speak. Okay, there we go. You see how that looks? It's really that lion's mane glitter with the oranges and yellows that I put underneath shining through that vellum. It's really, really pretty. All right, let's do that again. And I did the same thing to all of my dragonfly wings. Oops, that is body. Yep, I knew I'd make a mess. Let's see if that works a little bit. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and do this big one because we're going to need him. I've got him already done over here, or another one that we can use. We can use this one right here, but I will go ahead and do this big one. All right, just put glue there on there. And I'll do the other side. All right, there we go. Oh, so pretty. I love lion's mane glitter. Let's see how much of this I can feed back into my can here. All right. Now, one of my favorite tools that came out a few years ago is the We Are Memory Keepers Glitter Vac, and it works great for embossing powder as well. So if you don't have one of those, if you like using glitter and embossing powder, it's a handy little thing to have around. So, okay, we have our dragonflies ready to go. So next we're going to do our flowers. And when I stamped my flowers, I stamped each of them completely with their stems, and then I stamped them each individually as well. And we're going to do just a little bit of decoupage on these. And I cleaned up my lion's mane a little too soon, but I don't know that this will be as messy, but I am going to use it here. So these we don't need to glitter, but on these I am. And the way I'm going to do that is just with my glue bottle, I'm going to tap on glue, but I'm pretty much going to cover that whole area of that part right there. And then I'm just going to drag it in that glitter, and then I'm going to tap it into the lion's mane glitter. And when that glue dries, you'll have a nice chunky glitter because it's got this chunkier glitter underneath and then the lion's mane over the top. So it's a really fun way to do the tops of these flowers. I love that chunky look under there. And then we'll dip. I'm pretty much just dipping it all the way in there and tapping it off. And when that dries, we'll have that nice chunky look with the goldish lion's mane glitter over the top. Okay. Oh, I think I did do this. Now I'm not going to put the lion's mane on this one, but I did, just to keep them looking the same, I did put just a little bit of the glitter on these. There we go. All right. So when I do Heartfelt collection videos, I use 100% Heartfelt products. But since I'm over here on my own channel, I've been using, bringing in some other things as well. And so today I kind of wanted to make this an encouraging card, and I had this Dragonfly stamp set that is from Stamps of Life, and I really liked this Spread Your Wings, You've Got This. So that is what I had my sentiment be on my card. You can see the Spread Your Wings right here on the top, but when you open it up, you see the little circle down there here. It says You Got This. So this is just a card of encouragement that someone can, so it could be a graduation card or somebody going through a surgery or just all kinds of things, but just a card for encouragement. And you might be able to see my dragonfly here is on acetate, so he kind of looks like he's flying right out of the garden there. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and decoupage these. That'll only take a moment. There we go. And by that, I pretty much am just saying we're going to layer these on, okay? I think, there we go. And now we'll layer this one. This is just another way we can add interest to our card is by doing those layers. So, all right, I like them. Okay, the last thing that we're going to need is actually, it is for our largest dragonfly. And that is, let me find it. What have I done? Here it is. This is an old packaging. I store some of my older stamps and dies in the storage containers, and so I don't always keep the packaging, but I kept it, but I don't keep my dies in there. So I have this older piece, and I like to use it when I want a clear piece, but acetate might be a little too weak. Like, because this is so many layers, it's a little too heavy to just be held up with regular acetate. But this packaging, it is much heavier. So this is what I use to make my clear part to hold my dragonfly up. Now, if you don't want to cut up your Heartfelt Creation packaging, go down into your pantry and, if you have any kids' toys, buy your grandkids or your kiddos a toy, and it's full of that kind of plastic. So that's another option for you. And I do use double-sided adhesive for this part. I think I'm gonna, well, maybe I can make it work right here. I cut that a little too big. It's good to figure out how you want him to sit on your acetate. I'm going to have him a bit at an angle because I want him kind of flying up and out of my card. So I can see the width of his body. I think about right here is where I want my acetate. Okay. All right. See right there? Okay. He's doing good. Now, this other piece that I cut is to just add strength and stability to the base of this. I found with this by itself, it kind of got a little bit weak, but when I added another piece on there, it just gave more strength. So to do that, I'm going to stay a little bit here. All right, now I know that my piece that I put, whoops, I can get it in the camera. This section right here is only about 1.25 inches wide. So I didn't want my adhesive to be any wider than that. Like, longer, I should say. And now I'm just going to add that up. Now this base part, we can go ahead and trim that off. And now the same, we only want this to be, no more than 1 inch. And you put your adhesive on the top. And now I'm going to just add him right in there. Okay, now you just kind of place him down in there, looking to make sure he's where you want him to be on your card. So that's about where I want him. And there he is. He's flying. So, and I just took that and just reached down in there and pressed it with my fingers. And you can kind of reach down in there. You can come from the bottom and press that real good so that that's adhered real well. All right, now to finish up the front of our card, we're just going to add our cone flowers. And remember, I didn't glue that down all the way so that I could kind of tuck these in. I'm going to put these in right here. And my glue on. Because this is still wet, I'm having to be a little bit careful. There we go. And now this one, instead of gluing it behind, I'm gluing it on top. Sorry, I might keep pulling that down out of the... I decided to glue him on top, but his stem, I'm putting it off to the side just a little bit. And then this little floating stem right here, I'm going to make sure that one of my flowers here kind of cover that up. You see how that is? So it doesn't look like it's just floating there. Now, I chose the cone flowers and the dragonflies to do this, and you've heard me say butterfly several times today, and this is the Z-fold card with a floating element. There's just so many collections that you could use to create this, use this card base idea with several different collections. So that's something you can think about there. Now, let me find my... Here are my sentiments, and I went ahead and I stamped those in the Versamark and put a gold outline around them. This one I made an eyelet circle, but this one I'm just going to freehand cut that to have a bit of an outline. I did not use a die for this, I just did it with my hands. And then I just put it right up here in the corner above my dragonfly. Let's see if I can get that just in the right spot. And I kind of angled it a bit. I wanted my dragonfly wings to kind of come up on it as if he's flying towards it. And then the next one I put right here, and I didn't pop anything up on this card other than raising my one layer of my cone flowers. It's easy to get a Z-fold card a little too bulky if you use too many layers or pop-ups, and if you want it to close well, you just have to kind of keep an eye on how many layers you're doing, or that can end up being an issue. All right, I'm going to turn this like this. Pop that in there like that. And then I do have a couple more dragonflies that I can add. So I want him kind of going at a different angle than this one. And then I also have this little one here. On my original, I didn't have this little one. I only had big ones. So we can add that little guy if we decide we like him. And I only am putting adhesive on their bodies. There we go. So I'm going to kind of look back. Theirs is just like my original, and if we want, we can add another one up here. What do you think? Think it might be overkill. It might be too many. I think it might take away from my cone flowers. Yeah, I think I'll save him for another project. Okay, well, here is our Z-fold dragonfly card. Whoops, sorry, getting my glue closed up. And I just love how that turned out. I'm glad that my yellows and greens, I like the pattern paper back there. It kind of adds interest, and I think this would be encouraging sitting up in somebody's space if they need to be encouraged for some reason. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and switch my camera back. All right, thank you so much for crafting with me today. It's actually late at night. I'm making this video in the evening, and I'm leaving for vacation in just a couple days. So right now, while you're watching this, I'm actually out of the country on a vacation. So if you do make any comments or ask any questions and things like that, I won't be able to get back to you until I return back to home, which is late June. So do keep that in mind if you have any questions. And thank you so much for crafting with me, and continue to craft for the fun of it. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.